Hey there, everybody. Ian Lee here. Happy Monday. So today I want to talk about major 6 chords and, well, in turn, minor 7 chords, how they're related. We were talking about major 7 chords for a little bit. What is a major 7 chord? So let's talk about what a major 6 chord is and how we find that and what that all means. So, let's just dive right in. So we've been speaking using D major as our example. Let's just keep using that. D major is a very violin friendly place to exist. So last week, or I guess over the last few weeks, we talked about how to find a major 7 chord by utilizing the D major scale. And we did the old play a note, skip a note, play a note, skip a note. That's how you build any 4-note chord out of any scale. That's in general like what we call 7 chords, I guess. But so 4-note, 7 chords. You would play a note, skip a note, play. And of course, depending on the scale you're playing and all kinds of things, this can all shift and change. But basic, major, minor, diatonic music theory, we're just playing a note, skipping a note, playing a note, skipping a note, playing a note, skipping a note. And that gives us these 7 chords that we can play with that occur naturally within the scale. And we figured out how to do that with D major, 7 that is. And now we're going to do what we call D6. Well, it holds true with the play a note, skip a note through the first chunk of the scale. But then instead of playing the major 7 of the scale, which is in turn the 7th scale degree, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I just counted up the 7 notes of the D major scale before I got to the octave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Instead of playing that, we play the 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's why it's called a D6. Because you're playing the 6th degree of the scale against the D major triad that comes from that. So if I were to play an A major scale, and I played the 6th scale degree, which is F sharp, and I played my A major triad against it, then I would have A6. So it's pretty, music can be very mathematical in that sense, and the math is pretty simple, I think, all in all. It's just knowing these little things and what the language is. I think it can be scary for a lot of musicians when they're really first getting into theory and understanding terminology and the language of what these chords are and what they contain with their notes. And essentially it's just understanding the language of how we're all speaking to each other. And it's not complicated. It's really not. It's just a matter of trying to understand it in these very simple terms, and all these little concepts just keep building on top of each other. That's all it is. And it's all so helpful. So anyways, let's keep going here. So we have that major 6 chord. Major 6 is a really pretty sound. To me, I like using it, I think, more as a go-to than major 7. It's like if I'm reading a chart and someone just has a major chord on the chart, it doesn't say C major 7 or C6 or anything. It just says like C, for example, or in this case D, since we're working with that example. So I'll grab the 6th chord tone, especially if I'm playing guitar and reading rhythm, more than I will the major 7 tone, because I think the major 6 is a little warmer. The major 7th and the dominant 7th, which we'll get into in a few episodes, they're pretty specific sounds, and it's not that they're not beautiful, specifically the major 7, but it's got a thing. This is if I played it on the guitar, it's got a specific draw versus this. See, it's just a little more round, a little more mellow. It's not so sharp. And so I'll use this a lot, especially if I'm ending a tune. If I'm in D, for example, and my major 6th is, the B note is the 6th in my major 6 chord, right? So what I'll do is, let's say we're ending the tune, the rhythm guitarist grabs like a D chord, just grabs a good old D major or D6 themselves. Bass player grabs something within that, most likely the root, maybe the 3rd. And then I'll grab that B on the low G string of my fiddle. And that really just gives a really cool round quality to the end of the tune. It's really pretty to hear the violin play that sixth scale degree against that final chord. It's a really, really pretty sound. So I suggest playing with that and exploring it and seeing, if you remember the other episodes, how I found the major 7 chord in all these different shapes. See if you can find those shapes for the major 6 chord with all the different finger patterns, essentially. And we'll get into some more stuff around the major 6 chord, how it relates to the minor 7, and how we can play with some inversions and all that next week. All right, happy practicing.